Good looking.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Part Scanning Garage. Sorry it's been a while since I've posted. Also want to just, before I forget, thank everybody. We've reached 300 plus subscribers, which is pretty crazy. So thank you for telling your friends, or however this is happening, I don't know. But that's pretty cool. So anyway, we're back. I've been traveling a bit, collecting more and more stuff, and I should have essentially enough stuff for unlimited content. So today, let's jump right into what we're working on, the test boat. And I have to admit, I made a mistake buying this test boat. So I bought another test boat. So we're going to have, this is going to be big test boat, and we have another one called little test boat or small test boat. And the reason I made a mistake on this one, this is a Duranautic 14-foot offshore edition. What that means is it's really tall. It can take waves. The transom on this thing is 23 inches long. And besides the motor this came with, the 25 horsepower Johnson that fell to the bottom of the sea, there's only one motor in my entire outboard motor collection that actually could work on this boat correctly. And that is the famous long shaft. You actually need a 23-inch shaft to work on this boat. And that's so that the cavitation plate, I can show you later on, but the cavitation plate is this little plate that sits above the propeller. And you want that essentially lined up with the bottom of your hull. And every other motor I have in there is, ranges from 18 inches to 21. And I only have one, that super long shaft Mercury. So once we get this all fixed up today, we're going to put long shaft right on this, toss it in the water, and that will hopefully be the next video. But for today, we're going to outfit this boat the right way. Right now it is just a shell. It has absolutely nothing in it. It doesn't even have a drain plug in it. So this would be impossible to use. I have a pretty aggressive punch list. I do this with most boats that I buy. And I'm going to take you through the punch list today. I hope this is exciting for you and you can learn something here. The punch list, I'm going to try to put this on the screen right now, and I'll keep updating it on the screen. Get a little bit fancier. I like whiteboards, but I don't have one in here. Okay, so the punch list. So the first thing we need to do is install a battery box and a battery. So the battery came with the boat. It's only a year old. It's a Sears Die Hard battery. It's a nice one. Came with a battery box, which is just a plastic box that holds a battery. So that's number one on the punch list. There's a kind of a reason for the order here. So once we figure out where the battery is going to be, then the next thing we'll do is install a bilge pump and an automatic float switch. And here's a bilge pump right here. Pretty simple bilge pump. This is a Rule 500 gallon per hour bilge pump. And here's a float switch. And I'll get you some close-ups when we're doing each one of these little mini projects. But essentially this sits in the back of the boat, and when this floats up, it turns on the bilge pump. Very simple. That's all I want on this boat. I don't want anything super fancy. When it fills up with water, I want it to pump out. And you can do that once you add a battery to a boat. You can do all the kind of other things that I'm doing. So we're going to do the battery box. We're going to do the bilge pump with the float switch right after the battery box. It'll help us route the wires nice and efficiently. We then will be doing a 12-volt lighter socket. Where is that? I think I have it around here. Okay, right here. I'm probably going to just mount this to the side of the plastic battery box or somewhere. And it's always nice to have a 12-volt power outlet on a boat. You can plug a phone charger in here, or maybe a handheld spotlight, whatever you want. So that's something I usually put on all of my little junky boats. The next is a switch panel. I'm going to have to make a switch panel. So all of the wiring that I'm going to be doing here is going to require essentially 3 switches. So a little bit of a spoiler alert here, but one switch is going to control this is a 3-way switch. This is going to, in the down position, it's going to light the anchor light, which I'll get to in a second. In the up position, it's going to be what you call navigational lights, and that's your red and your green bow light, as well as your anchor light. When you're just anchored and fishing or something, you really shouldn't have your navigation light on. You should just have your anchor light. That's your white light that goes at the back of the boat, or the stern. So I'll get to that in a second. So anyway, there'll be one 3-way switch right here. You'll get plenty of close-ups of this stuff. There'll be one, and there'll be two one-way switches. So here's the first one, and this will control my floor lighting. I always think that's nice to have on a boat. I do a lot of night boating, or I enjoy night boating. It's nice when you can light up the floor and walk around safely. And then this one here is going to be a floodlight. So let me jump into those. So that's the switch panel. The next is going to be the bow light, which I just mentioned. And that's this beautiful silver light here. And the point of these, if you're not a boater, I don't know why you'd be watching this video, but you know, when you see a boat at night far away, you'll either see a red light or a green light. And if you see the left the side of the boat, it's going to be red. So you can sort of figure out just from the color and where the white light is in relation, and you can kind of figure out where the boat's going. So that's the bow light. Next is going to be the stern light. That's this guy here, and this goes on the back of the boat. Also sometimes called an anchor light when you're anchored, but this is the white light that I talked about. So that'll be that. Next is going to be a front floodlight. So I bought a 2-pack of these on Amazon. I put the first one on Riverside Ralphie, my little green golf cart. You can go see that. That video is somewhere out there on this channel. So then this will go on the front, probably below the navigation light, the bow light. So that's that. Then what else do we have? Blue deck lights. So I bought like, I don't know, 20 of these on Amazon, and I've used them on a million things. I'm going to put one on each seat, pointing down, so the whole floor should glow nice and blue at night. So that should be cool. Next is a drain plug. Here we go. Got a shiny new drain plug here with a string. I always put a string on my drain plugs and tie them to something because I've lost so many drain plugs. These things sink like a stone when you drop them. And if you do that, your whole day is usually ruined unless you happen to be carrying an extra drain plug. So tying a string onto your drain plug and then tying it or fastening it to the boat somewhere is a good idea. Let's see, what else? And then a bow eye. This boat does not have a bow eye on it. And a bow eye is a little round, very strong point where you can connect your trailer to haul this up onto the trailer. So right now this is just sitting on the trailer. You can also connect a line to this and just use it to tie up the boat. So this will be a pretty easy install. So that's it. Not that that's it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that worked out well. So we have 10 items on the punch list. So let's jump right into them. Okay, time to jump into punch list item 1. Just a quick update. If you watched the test boat video, the original, the only thing I've done since that video was clean this out. I filled it with water to test it for leaks, and it doesn't leak. What else did I do? Oh, I put some real thin white AZEK over the transom plywood just because it looked ugly, and it was real coarse, so if you hit your leg on it or something, it was like sandpaper. So that was just aesthetic. And that's it. So here we go with the and away we go with punch list item number 1. This is the battery box and battery. And what I think I'm going to do is just stick this right in the center back here and throw a screw, maybe a couple screws right into the back of this seat. And that's that. Why make it any more complicated than that? Need some way to hold this down while I put the first screw in. Let's see. I warned you already. Random screws going into boats makes you nervous. It's not the video for you. That's pretty solid with one. Let's see if the battery fits. Oh, beautiful. See if we can wedge this cover on. I didn't put the screws on the outside because I knew I would have to kind of bend it a little to get this cover to fit back there. Wow, that's perfect. Look at that. There's a little tab in the front that's going to tuck in. Let's see. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds and we are golden. All right, so the idea will be we're going to mount the bilge pump here. This is the output, and that's going to come up here and just shoot over. And this float switch I'm going to put on this side like this. So this is the lowest point of the boat, great for pumping and great for detecting water. So in order to get those to stay there, I could fashion a little L bracket coming off this or coming off the transom, but I think I'm just going to use a blob of JB Weld, and let's see how that holds up. So in order to do that, so let's see, so I really have to only, this comes off, so I really only have to glue this part down in that direction. And the base of these usually come off too. Figure out how to take this off. Looks like a button on, there are buttons on both sides maybe? Nope. Oh yeah, it is a button, just to press it a little harder. Okay, so that will go, I don't think it matters which way this goes on, no it doesn't, I don't think. Right, well that will go that way, so hopefully you can see that. Let me try to move the camera. So you get the idea. Bilge pump on that side, float switch on this side. So my plan is to clean the surface with acetone and then scuff it up with a little sanding pad and then put a blob of JB Weld down here. Seen me use this JB Weld before. You just usually put about, depends on how much you need, but equal sized blobs. Okay. Try a little butter knife here. Mix these together really well, and it should start to smell really bad. So you know you did it right. Okay, I gave it a little bit for those to cure. Pretty solid. Now what I think I'm going to do is put a connector, a quick disconnect on either of these so I can plug them through this little brace right here, and we'll be done. So using our little automatic wire stripper, you just put this in as far as you want to strip, squeeze it. Look at that. Pretty cool. If you have a lot of wires to strip, this is a pretty cool invention. Just going to put a male on one side and a female on the other side. Here's my fancy wire crimper. Okay. Get a better look at it this time. We're stripping a lot of wires, so I'll try to get a better view when we have some better light. All right, there we go. So I should be able to just plug these in I think they're cured enough. So this guy is going to go to the positive side of the battery, which is right there. This wire nut on temporarily. Okay, and then I'm going to pass this wire underneath this little transom stabilizer. I'm sorry about the angles here. This is a tricky thing to film. And I'm probably hitting my microphone on every part of the boat, which is probably annoying. You're not missing anything. I'm just plugging in these two connectors. Okay, everything's looking good there. Okay, let's give it a test. Hopefully you can hear this. Let's see. The float switch, I'm just going to lift it, simulating water. And there's our bilge pump. Now we need a hose to connect to that bilge pump. Okay, snug that down. And then we're just going to have that come over here and just shoot over the side. All right, punch list item 3 was to connect a 12-volt power outlet. And while I was waiting for that epoxy to cure, I went out to the wood shop and just whipped up this little control panel. So these will be our switches. That's it. Just an old piece of plexiglass scrap I had laying around and some AZEK scrap pieces. See through it, kind of a retro, clear 80s look. On the bottom there are 5 little holes to run the wires through, and then the 12 volt. I was going to mount this on the battery box, but I really like how this switch box came out, so I'm just going to mount this on the side right there so it's easily accessible. And then I think I'm just going to put the switch box right on the side of the boat here. So let's just put a couple screws in this and we'll consider this done. We're going to be running power into this box anyway, so it's pretty easy to just button this up. And that should do it. 2 opposing screws on that, solid. And these wires just tuck right into here. And these will be against the wall, so that's that. So there you go. Okay, item 4 on the checklist, on the punch list, is the switch panel. And as I just showed you, we already have the switch panel figured out. Came out pretty good, and I'm going to mount it right here, right above the seat on the side here. That way it won't be in the way of people stepping in and out over this side right here. Won't be in the way as I'm driving, and I think we'll be good to go. Here we go. A couple really nice long stainless screws. And I'm going to screw these right through the outside of the boat, through the hull, into these 2 little holes on the back of this. And the front of this also comes off, which will help us. Okay, there's half. I think 2 screws will be plenty to hold this on. But we'll see, we can always add a bunch more. Wow, that is solid. Okay. And you can see how this is working now. That is great. I'm very happy with that. Just missing one thing. All right, folks, if you're still watching, we are on punch list item number 5, which is the bow light. So this is the bow light, and I'm going to put it on the bow. Spoiler alert, it's going on the bow. I'm going to put it as far forward as I can, but I still want the boat, in case I hit any branches or a dock, I'd like the boat to take the impact and not this fancy bow light. They break anyway. But it looks like I need to drill a hole about a 1/2 inch forward. I don't want these wires, it's tempting to just have the wires go through here, but I am going to have a line in here, so I don't want them getting frayed. So I'll drill a hole a 1/2 inch forward, and that will take these wires through. I'll pass the wires through, and then I will use 2 self-tappers and just screw these suckers right in. So let's drill that hole right about there-ish. The audio went haywire at this point, so I'll just narrate after the fact. What I'm doing here is wrapping a pretty significant amount of electrical tape around the wires that will be rubbing on the inside of the hole I just drilled. I did file it and it's very smooth, but this just gives you a little bit more protection so it doesn't chafe over time. Boats vibrate a lot. Now I'm going to put the 2 self-tappers through. After that, I back them out so that I can vacuum up any shavings that were created by the self-tappers themselves. And that should be about it. We're at the back again. Here's our stern light. Figure out where we want to put this. So I had some footage problems here, but I did exactly the same thing I did on the bow light. I drilled a hole in the center, and then I put in 4 self-tappers to hold this stern light on. And it came out great, very solid. All right, so we're on to the floodlight, or spotlight, depending on how this looks. If my voice sounds different, it's because I actually had to swap out to a different camera. We're using a different microphone, and I spent all last weekend doing this. So let's get this spotlight installed. So I'm thinking we're going to put it somewhere around here-ish, which means I need to drill a hole through the front of the boat. There's already a hole here for the bow eye, so I'm just going to do another hole probably right above it. I think we'll just punch straight through right here. And this thing has a bolt on it. If it's not long enough, I'll stick a longer bolt. But let me drill the hole and then I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. Okay, this is just a metal punch. This is just going to make a little tiny hole, or I should say a little tiny dent, and that dent will give the drill bit something to focus on. Beautiful. Okay, let's drill this sucker out. So I punched about probably an inch above that other one, and we'll just do the same thing. Beautiful. I think I'll grab my little file. It may still be out here somewhere. There it is. Grab my rat tail file and just take the sharp edges off this thing. Off these both, I guess, here. Let's see. Not as concerned about the hole with the bolt going through it, but the one with the wire. Okay. Good. Hopefully you'll see the wire coming through from that side. I'm not sure if the camera angle is perfect, but you get the idea. Top hole is getting the wire. Bottom hole is getting the bolt. And we still have to determine if this bolt is long enough. So let's take a look. Oh, it's coming through. Look at that. Wow, it is perfect. It is the ideal length. Wow. All right. Nut on here. Got my 1/2-inch socket. There we go. Jeez, that is loud. Okay, next up will be the deck lights. And they're these little blue lights. They're LED, of course. And, you know, they're not too bright, but they light up I think that they'll light up the floor nicely in here. So I'm going to be mounting these. If you take a look at my pointer here, these are going to be mounted, excuse me, under each seat. Sorry, there's lawnmowers, neighbors, and things going on out there. Sorry if you can't hear me. But under each seat, there's this stabilizer. And I'm just going to punch these right into that stabilizer, run the wires underneath the seat and up. And all of my wires are going to be in this channel going along the length of the boat. So I'm going to flop around in here like a fish and screw this thing in. Okay, after floundering around in the boat, I got them all installed. So there's the front one on the front of the front seat. The second one, see under there. And the third one is under there. And the fourth one is under here. Next is the drain plug. So here's my shiny new drain plug, courtesy of Walmart. The way drain plugs work, there's this rubber section, and as you turn this handle, that compresses this rubber section a little bit. Then when you crank it over, it really compresses it even more. So some people put drain plugs in from the outside in, some people go inside out. I like them inside out. The reason some people do outside in is because sometimes you can get a better seal. But I'm going to start with the inside, and this will be set up so you can do it either way. So pretty simple. Drain plug goes in here. It's already tight as it is. Let me loosen it a little bit. Okay, jam that in there. Flip this up. Done. Drain plug installed. Now here's my string. I'm just simply going to tie this string. I think there's already a hole drilled right here. We'll go through this hole and just tie a simple square knot. Come on. All right, nothing fancy. Now when this flies out for some reason, or I'm draining it at the boat ramp and I forget and this thing goes out, hey, what do you know? Here's my drain plug. So for now, we'll leave that out, but drain plug installed. All right, folks, we are cracking right along. All we have left is to install this bow eye, and then I have a bunch of wiring to do, and this sucker's getting a motor and getting tossed in the water. Hopefully today. So this little bow eye, it's kind of interesting. See if I can get this on camera. Has these two little sharp little spikes on it, and that keeps it from rotating. So those little sharp spikes, there's already holes in the boat. This boat had a bow eye on it. In fact, just about every boat has a bow eye. And who knows what happened to this one, but this already has a hole ready, and it even has the little holes where the spikes were before. So this should be pretty mindless installation. And hopefully we'll see those little spikes sink into the boat. You can get a side view here where you can actually see it. Maybe. We'll see. There we go, they're getting pulled in nicely. All right, that thing is solid. And now, what do you know, we can attach our trailer line here. Trailer winch, whatever the heck you call this thing. I call it a clicky clacky. Look at that. Ooh, not going anywhere. Okay, we're getting really close, folks. At this point, I'm going to remove everything that's not related to wiring from the boat so it doesn't get in the way, and start wiring everything together. This is a pretty easy part. I enjoy wiring, so this is a little bit fun. I got my wire stripper, got my crimper. Don't need a screwdriver. See, you don't need that. Need some more wiring, some electrical tape. We might need that. Here's the mega crimper. Okay, so we have all the wires run back to this switch box and to the battery.
I ran 12-volt positive wires back from each component and a common ground to all of them. My voice is fading quickly, if you can't tell. So I think we'll just button this up and give it a quick test. Okay, everything fits in there. Thank goodness. There are 5 screws that hold this cover on, but just to test this before we go too crazy, I'm just putting 1 screw in. Okay, I'm going to connect up the battery. Okay, so this first switch should be the navigation lights. Hey, look at that. I'll take you on a tour. Second switch should be deck lights, and the third switch should be spotlight. So I do see them working. I'll get you a close-up. Since everything was working, I decided to button the rest of the panel up. You can take a close look at the final result. You can see all the wires through that plexi. And everything is buttoned up. You know, I might put a few zip ties on here just to hold everything in, but looks pretty good. The wire is sitting in that channel going all the way up the boat. And pretty clean. You know, I could probably clean this up actually. Get this to lay flatter. There we go. So that's about it. I put the battery box back together. It looks real good. And before I forget, if you're wondering how the heck are you going to keep this battery charged, Jay? Well, 3 ways. 1, I have a charger at my dock, so that's kind of cheating. 2, I have a solar panel that I may mount on the front of this boat. It's a small battery tender solar panel. And 3, the motor that came with this boat has a stator, and that's kind of the equivalent of an outboard motor alternator. So that will charge the battery if I ever get that motor running and on this boat. So without further ado, let's do a lights out test. All right, I've turned on all the lights for the final test. So let's start with our navigation and anchor lights. Okay. First I want to make sure these switches, yeah, perfect. I do not want them lighting up. That is an option, but I don't want to kill the battery. The anchor light looks good. Coming up front. Hey, look at that. Red and green. Okay, cool. Let's test out the floor lights next. Here we go. Ooh, look at that. So there's the first. Wow. That looks really cool, actually. All right, so that is working great. Now let's test the spotlight. So I'm looking forward. You can see the bow there. Whoa, okay. The spotlights, that is very powerful. Let's take a look at that. Okay. And now let's turn them all on. Okay, look at that. Nav lights. Looks good. Let's test the bilge one more time. And then hook that hose up, put a motor on it, and get it out of here. I'd like to thank you all for watching. In the next video, we'll be throwing a motor on this and tossing it in the water. Stay tuned. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.